Hi guys, Tour here with a new video, and this video will be a Project Epoch Classic Plus video, and we're going to talk about the population on a prime time time zone, I would say, like time. It is currently it's 8:30 p.m. in Brussels, pretty much, and we are going to try to see the population. Already made the exercise and already made an Excel, but I wanted to show you guys how I search for classes and faction. I'm going to first and foremost show you how to search on your server your faction and the races and the amount distribution between the races and the classes. So how do you do? You do R, you do the little minus, you do like this. I don't know how it's called in English, sorry. Undead, and you encapsulate it pretty much. You refresh, and that is the amount of undead currently online. You put it on an Excel. Already did it, so I will show you once the results are like I've shown everything I wanted to show, pretty much. So, and then what you're doing is you're going to do for every single race. So you do, for example, you can also do for human if you want to. So you just do human, but you will not see anything, but you will see the written number, which is 1052, for example. Then you're going to do for orc. Here you can see, because I am currently horde, so you will see the total population and also who is orc. You can also see the trolls. You can also see the Taurens, and you can do that for every single thing. The video is not about how you do it, but the total, and I'm going to show you how it is. I'm going to show you really quickly the numbers for alliance, so you like trust me. So you have dwarf, which is, let's do it again. Wait. For example, you have Tauren, and then you have dwarf. For example, it's very close. You have 5 more dwarves than Taurens. You have gnome, which is 391, and if it's night elf, which is like 2 words, you just write 2 words and it's fine. 822, for example. How do you search for classes? I'm going to show you how to search for classes, so you also understand how to do it. You do with C and the exact same command, but you write, for example, warrior. You can see 777. You can also see shaman, for example, 743. The most popular class, which is paladin, 839, and then the second most popular class, which is now overtaking paladins, 845. So it is like a constant move between those two. But I wanted to show you that data, and you want to see the whole population, which is currently 6,314. A lot of people are like alluding that horde is overtaking alliance. It is impossible for the alliance to survive on this server, blah blah blah. I have the numbers. Literally, you can do it whenever you are online. You can do the same. I'm doing it in prime time because, again, most likely you're playing on prime time, you're not playing on off peak, except if you're like from the United States, for example. But I'm going to show you now what is the important thing, which is le Excel, which is very interesting. All right, this is the Excel I have built. It is very bare bones, so I just wanted to do it quickly. There's a few things that are mattering, right? The total population, which is 6,217, which is done 15 minutes ago. I just did it really quickly. The horde versus alliance ratio, which is 53.39% horde, 46.61% alliance, which you could basically say 53% for horde and 47% for alliance. And that is constantly moving. Obviously, it could be a bit lower on some days. It could be a bit higher on other days. There is also cross-faction characters, so you could literally make a night elf if you're horde. So you can always do that. But the percentiles are like between 45 and 55. It never really goes beyond that, and it never really goes below that. That's something you should know. So that's like literally, I've did it multiple times throughout the days, but like now I want to make this video so people understand how healthy the population is on Gurubashi. Right now, the most popular race, which has always been, is undead, especially since now you can racial swap at level 60. There is no real reason to be orc. Because if you really want to be orc racials, you can always do that for raids, for example. And even then, the racials are kind of nerfed because weapon skill, that's not the racial. The racial is like expertise. So you would get 1% or 2%. I don't know. Don't remember really. I can see it right now on my screen. For example, Horde, I go for racial knowledge. Axe specialization reduces your chances to be dodged or parried with axes 1%. So it's not as strong as what weapon skill is. So it's also not that important. Troll is 318, and most likely for PvE, most people are going to be Troll because of the Berserk buff, and also, for example, just in general, I think it has more value overall in a raid, but whatever. That's like my opinion. And the two like most popular are Undead and Orc, but actually Tauren is really close to Orc, and that's something that I'm actually surprised. But I think the Tauren racial knowledge, which is like the racial, like um, the cosmetic stuff, like with the Tauren totem on the back, is actually very cool. So I understand. For Alliance, Human and Night Elf are like the two top, and they're very close to each other actually, compared to Orc and Undead. But then, like again, Gnome, the same for Troll. They're more useful on their racial part than on their like cosmetic part, so it is what it is. Not everyone wants to play Gnome, and the dwarfs are actually very close to Night Elf, but I think it's very class related. Obviously, most dwarves are shamans, so that's something you can check for yourself if you want to. Most dwarves are shamans or paladins, and then you have like the other races, which like the other classes, which are easily filled by going Night Elf, for example, or Gnome. That's something you should realize when playing on Gurubashi. Especially like in PvP, like Gnome racial is quite good. Dwarf racial is okay. Night Elf racial is beh. Except like the person, like you get 1% crit during the day, I think, and during the night you have what 2% more damage, or I don't know what it was, but it was like something useful, obviously. And humans get like perception, which is interesting versus rogues. But overall, it's not really mattering too much. What is important for me is like the ratio, and that's something that is very healthy for a realm like Gurubashi. While on Kezan, the ratio is literally like 75% Alliance and like 25% Horde, something like that. I haven't tested since like the first day. So that's something you can confirm it in the comments if you want to. If you're like from Kazan, you can do the same exercise. You can put also a beautiful graphic, and you can also do per day, like you do just duplicate this and you do it per day, like this pop for 31st of August, and then this can be like 1 week later, for example. You can do that if you want to. It's really not that hard to make like a good Excel, or a very fast one actually. Now for the classes, that's something very interesting for a lot of people, because I for one am very surprised. So there's a few things that is coming into my mind, and it is actually that right now we have a top 2 contender for the most played classes, which is like Paladin and Hunter. As I showed, first it was 833 for Paladin and 826, and now you have more Hunters that I have shown on my screen while I was making the video. Then it is for Rogues to be third, then you have Warriors being the fourth one, which is kind of surprising because normally Warriors are very overplayed. In general, because they are very useful. Mages are actually surprisingly very low. It's like 555, which is like 300 or 200 less than the best, like the most played classes, which is like again something very new to me. Rogue being very high is normal because of obviously being a PvP server. I think it's not the same on Kezan. Shaman being like really close to be the fifth, but actually Druid being the fifth is the most surprising thing for me. Druid has always been one of the least played classes in Classic. You can like always see the history behind Druid. I mean, like in Classic 2019, for example, or even Classic Anniversary, it was like like always around the 5% played, 6%, 7% played maximum. This is like really, really big as a number. Just shows that TBC talents actually changes a lot of stuff. Having Live Bloom changes a lot of stuff for Resto Druids, for example. Having Mangle, very fun talent to play around, spell to play around. Moonkin being more useful, at least in raids, for example, and being also fun in PvP, and like the gearing being a bit less aggressive makes it also very fun to play a hybrid because you have actually DPS tier sets in MC, you have DPS tier sets for PvP, so that makes hybrids very, very sexy. Just being like talking about hybrids, Paladin, Shaman, and Druid, you could also say Priest, they are very well played and very well received by the player base, which is again for me very new, and I think that's a classic plus thing, and I'm very, very happy to see that because it just means more tanks, more healers, more DPSers, more people to be enjoying playing classic overall. One thing I'm very surprised is the numbers on Priest being so low, Warlocks being the least played class, and then Mage being the third least played class, which is crazy to me, come to think of it. Which is like, if you put it in percentiles, Priest has 8% of the cake. Warlocks have 7.8, which basically is 8%. Mage is 8.9, which is basically 9%. And then you have like the top classes, which is Hunter and Paladin, which is 13% on both. And I'm really enjoying that. Now, the first phenomenon behind the classes, which I can explain probably, is that Priest, like Shadow Priest, doesn't really have too much changes. Vampiric Touch is very good. Don't get me wrong, like that makes it actually viable to get a Priest into raids, or but in PvP, you don't really have too much new, and Vampiric Touch doesn't do that much damage. The dots don't crit. You still have like the stigma of being a classic class, while if you actually put, like, for example, dots critting, that would do a lot of change towards those classes, like which is Warlock and Priest. If you actually crit it on your dots, people would be playing it because the scaling is way better on the playstyle of Affliction, Warlock, and like Shadow Priest. Uh, Priest as well in general, I think, is like played in Classic way more than in Classic Plus, which makes it less likely to be rolled, because if you played Priest in Classic 2019 or in Classic Anniversary, you're less likely to go towards that. The same for me, for example. I have not like ever played Shaman in a classic setting. The only times I played class like Shaman was like in TBC back in the day when I was younger, and I've never really leveled up until it was like Wrath Cataclysm. And on like 2019 classic, which I only ended up playing Shaman at like level 85, which is Cataclysm. So for me, it was very new, and I like was like, okay, I want to play Shaman. It is my main on retail. It is my main on like Cataclysm. It was my main on like different parts of my life, because again, 2019 didn't start my World of Warcraft journey. It was back in the day, 2005, 2006, 2007, and actually at 2012 or something like that, I started main Shaman and played like Elemental Shaman. I wanted to try it out and see like, okay, Classic Plus, TBC talent, why not? At least I can like play Enhancement Shaman or Elemental Shaman in raids and not be like useless, and playing PvP and have fun with one shots like Unbreakable did on his montage videos. But if I was like following my normal mains, I would be playing Druid, because that's like something I played in 2019, something I played even in Classic Anniversary, which I also have a level 60 Druid there. Like that was the usual stuff that I was like always like known for. So for me to be able to play like a Shaman is like a step different, which was like something I wanted to do. Now I'm going to have a second main, so the likelihood of me going to Druid is very high. But yeah, like I think in general, the whole balancing is very good. Like this is very good. This is a bit like, mate, that explains a bit. Like Mage, Frost Mage is a bit always the same. A lot of people played Mage also back in the day. Maybe don't want to play Mage again. And it feels also like you're in a nerf version, because I think you cannot AoE more than 10, something like that. If you want to like play Frost Mage, it's still like just Frost Mage. A Fire Mage, I think the changes towards Fire Mages are like null. They're not really that abundant. So for fire mage to be thriving, they need kind of a rework or kind of something extra. And arcane mage is the only spec that I felt like, oh, okay, this is really different compared to even like TBC. It's like a straight on rework, and you get arcane blast way sooner, so you can play around with it at level 19. You can already enjoy the new stuff from mage. So that's something like I'm very surprised of it being very low, but I guess I think a lot of people that played mage actually turned into druid, shamans, and maybe paladins, especially undead paladin. I think you can make a search for undead paladin. I don't know if I can do that. I'm going to try to do a search. If it works, I'm going to show you, like something like that. Should it work? You have literally 471 undead paladins, which is like more than 50% of the amount of paladins on the server. So basically you do the same command, but in a row. So you do C minus the thingy paladin thingy close, and then R the little minus, and then you do undead pretty much, and you have the result. So it's 50%, like more than 50%. It's like around 55% of the player base for paladins are playing undead, and that's the reason for probably Project Epoch to be having those numbers, because most likely people are playing those combinations way more, because you don't have it on Turtle WoW, you don't even have it on retail, you don't have Undead Paladin on retail. Obviously, Dwarf Shaman is something you already have on retail, and even Cataclysm, but that's something like, again, no Classic Plus has except Project Epoch. Or Ascension, but again, Ascension, you can see it however you want. For me, it's like something that Ascension is Ascension. Basically, it's not really Classic Plus; it just is Ascension. I think that's a positive thing for Project Epoch. But I'm going to end the video right here. Again, it's a 17 minutes video about like the whole population of Gurubashi. This is Gurubashi Project Epoch. You could do the same for Kezan. I think Kezan has more players now that they have like the merge going on with Minithil for, but that's something that you could do for yourself. And let me know in the comment section below. Again, I will track that every 3 weeks or something like that, and let you know how the server will evolve, because we will lose most likely players somehow, some way, because people are like going to stop playing. For example, the tourists are going to be gone. I don't think the tourists are staying right now. I think the tourists are already gone by now, so it's already like 2 or 3 weeks from the release of the server. I think it's 2 weeks now. So obviously, if you're a tourist and you stick, it means that you most likely like something you have seen. So, and overall, I think Project Epoch is thriving. So there's no reason to really be scared of like the server dying or not. I think right now, especially Gurubashi, like it's very, 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 very balanced. That's like the same kind of balance you would see on like Classic Anniversary, pretty much. And even though you have like such a confirmation bias of I see only Horde or I see only Alliance kind of thing in zones, I think people should realize that some zones are like very Alliance favored and some other zones are very Horde favored. For example, Hillsbrad is way more Horde favored. Just is what it is. For example, I think Dust Wall of March, in my eyes, is way more Alliance favored because it's way easier to access, and also you have new quests, and like in general you will see a lot more alliance. At least that's how I felt. Like in Stone Talon Mountain, you will see more horde. I think also like in Thousand Hills you will see more horde. Like those things are like kind of normal. Or like upper STV you will see more alliance. That's something you can kind of see like the geography of World of Warcraft and see for yourself. Like, okay, that makes sense that you see more alliance or horde. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate you. Hopefully you did learn something. Hopefully you're like more up heavened about Gurubashi and like Project Epoch. I think for me this is great news. Pretty much that 500 difference is literally the undead players and most likely undead paladins that are like focusing on that instead of like spreading themselves around humans and dwarves and undead itself. So that it is what it is. But I'm very happy with this distribution. I would have preferred being Alliance. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm an Alliance player, so for me, Ogrimmar is like orange, like puke, pretty much. But I enjoy my Orc Shaman, so I cannot complain on everything. But like I prefer to be the underdog on the server. But like I think 47, 53, it's okay. I think most people are going to be okay with it. I think the queue times for like BGs are kind of the same. I haven't tested, but I think it's kind of the same. I think also the win rates are kind of the same. I think there is a lot of confirmation bias towards themselves, but it is what it is. Again, thank you for watching the video. Really appreciate you. This video, I don't know if it's coming out tonight or if it's coming out tomorrow, but it is for the 31st of August. So this is like the video for that. If it's like posted on the 1st of September or if it's posted today, that's out of my hands. I don't know if I'm going to do it or not. Depends if I have time. But overall, I'm very happy about like Project Epoch. Again, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye.